So coming out of Christianity and organized religion, out of the two of the biggest denominations in North America, I've kind of come to the opinion that there are just certain religious social constructs I just cannot deal with, live near, or support, or tolerate. So, fuck these religious social concepts. Religion, the patriarchy, male leaders, sexism, purity culture, gender double standards, gender roles, Christian morality, white supremacy, white privilege, save the kids, religious agendas, heteronormative lifestyle and marriage, Christian marriage, having kids, homophobia and queerphobia, pro-life or anti-abortion, love bombing, self-conformity, group conformity, prioritizing others over yourself, information control and access, cognitive dissonance, hoovering, religious trauma, PTSD, CPTSD, religious shame and guilt, cults, mistrust of myself and my inner voice, spiritual, emotional, bodily, and psychological assault, groupthink, dependence on group acceptance and adherence to their group rules, emotional priming at church and at home, church people assaulting vulnerable people and kids, spiritual bypassing, and religious OCD. Now, for those who don't know what some of those are, most of them are pretty self-explanatory. Heteronormative just means anything that's straight or mainstream. Self-conformity is basically changing or killing parts of yourself that don't make you blend in. Complex PTSD is something that a lot of religious people and secular people feel. It's different from regular because it's more long-term. And yeah, it's definitely one of those mind funk kind of things. Cognitive dissonance is a mental discomfort experienced when a person holds two or more conflicting beliefs, values, or attitudes, or when their beliefs conflict with their actions. Symptoms can be feelings of guilt, shame, and anxiety over making choices, questioning or second-guessing your own choices, experiencing discomfort when your values don't align with your actions, rationalizing or justifying your behavior. Common examples is effort justification, post-decisional dissonance, induced compliance. For example, cognitive dissonance is a smoker who knows smoking is harmful but continues to smoke, convincing themselves they don't smoke enough to cause damage. Other examples are justifying a purchase by focusing only on the positive aspects or rationalizing what recycling because there is no convenient access to the program. Hoovering. If you've ever left a relationship and somebody constantly tries to get you back by performing grand gestures or love bombing, this is considered hoovering. Complex PTSD is a more complex form of PTSD. It's usually having to do with an environment you lived in, not just a traumatic event. Emotional priming is one of those ones that I'm still in therapy trying to work through. And it's not something for the faint of heart, I'll say that. It's a psychological phenomenon where exposure to a stimulus like an emotional image or word unconsciously influences a person's subsequent emotional response and behavior. For example, seeing a happy face can make you more likely to interpret a neutral situation positively, while seeing a sad face can lead to a more negative interpretation. Emotional priming is very, very common in churches, cults, and very high control institutions. It can be found in marketing and sales, understanding bias, memory, and retrieval. A good example of priming is when someone who has been exposed to words associated with the elderly stereotype, such as forgetful or wrinkle, they walk more slowly afterwards, even if the word old was never used. And it's something that's hard to get over, especially if you experience religious priming. So it's kind of the use of religious cues to influence a person's emotional state, behavior, whether unconsciously or consciously. This can include religious music, images, or words that encourage certain behaviors like charity and cooperation, or decrease the anxiety and distress of an individual. And there's different kinds. There's social priming, emotional regulation, negative attitudes, behavioral links. Very interesting. And usually it's done with music, words, or some visual stimuli. And it's something you have to work through. I'm trying to work through this. It's not easy, and it's just something I have to work through. Spiritual bypassing is the use of spiritual beliefs or practices to avoid dealing with painful feelings, unresolved emotional issues, and psychological wounds. It can be ignoring responsibility, emphasizing positivity, detachment without compassion, judgment, and righteousness. Sounds like 99% of the people in the churches I've been into probably have this. Yeah, that's not really funny. How to avoid spiritual bypassing or the lack of compassion and empathy. Take responsibility. Embrace a full spectrum of human experience and emotions. Balance spirituality with psychology. Avoid negative, toxic positivity. Integrate. Be around people and heal. A good example, spiritual support. I get that you're angry. Your anger makes sense. Spiritual bypassing says your love can cure them. Spiritual support. I'm sorry you're hurting. I wish you didn't have to feel like this. Spiritual bypassing says God wouldn't give you more than you can handle. It's kind of like gaslighting, but very covertly. And it takes normal emotions and either makes you the bad guy or you're lazy. And I've met a lot of people in churches that refuse to grieve and heal because they honestly see their grief as something that they can wield. And it's extremely distressing. And I honestly think my family does this. It's a type of emotional avoidance. And it's just one of the things I have to deal with. And it's not comfortable and it's not great, but what can we do about it?